It says very clearly that if we can get our hands on El Chapo, I would say we can get our hands on anyone. He really controlled his entire empire, and he did it on purpose. Chapo didn't trust anyone.
Hidden in the desolate high desert of Colorado, surrounded by razor wire and gun towers, lies a prison so feared that even the most dangerous criminals whisper its name with dread. It is called ADX Florence. To the public, it is known as Alcatraz of the Rockies. To those who have been inside, it is something else entirely, a clean version of hell. It is a place where terrorists, spies, cartel leaders, and serial killers are locked away in silence. A place built not for rehabilitation, but for erasure. Tonight, we'll journey into the halls of ADX Florence. We'll see what life is like inside its concrete tombs, who its most infamous residents are, how it crushes the human mind, and we'll compare it to other prisons that claim the same title of world's most dangerous. The origins of a supermax. The story of ADX begins with blood. In 1983, 2 correctional officers were stabbed to death inside USP Marion, then America's toughest prison. Their murders exposed a chilling truth. Even in maximum security, the government could not contain its most violent inmates. The solution? A new kind of prison. One where escape would be impossible, riots unthinkable, and violence between inmates nearly eliminated.
This isn't a prison that the inmates run. We run this prison. To us, it makes good sense to try to do everything we can to change the behavior that brought them here.
By the early 1990s, construction began in the barren outskirts of Florence, Colorado. In 1994, the gates opened to the United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility, a DX for short. It was unlike anything the world had seen before. A place where steel, concrete, and silence worked together not to punish, but to extinguish. The architecture of control. Step inside ADX, and you quickly realize it was designed not by architects, but by engineers of control. Every cell measures 7 by 12 feet. The bed, a concrete slab. The desk, another concrete block. The toilet and sink, stainless steel. The door is solid steel, with only a narrow slot for food. The windows are angled upward, allowing prisoners to see only a fragment of sky. No mountains, no horizon. No reminder of the outside world. Inmates spend 23 hours a day locked in these cells. The remaining hours spent in recreation, which is little more than another concrete cage, barely larger than the cell itself, open only to a sliver of sunlight. Every hallway curves, not by accident, but by design, so inmates can never see what lies ahead. The message is clear: escape is not an option. Resistance is pointless. Hope is the first thing to die. The psychological prison. Human rights experts call ADX a form of torture. Psychologists describe the effects of prolonged solitary confinement as SHU syndrome, named after prison special housing units. Inmates experience paranoia, hallucinations, depression, and often complete psychological collapse.
I've seen individuals like that too, where they snap psychologically. They just shut down. They won't say anything to anybody else, and they'll just sit there in their cell all day looking at the walls.
Some mutilate themselves. Others smear blood on the walls. A few have taken their own lives. Former Warden Robert Hood admitted, "A DX is not designed for humanity. It's designed for control." It is the slow erosion of the human mind, performed in silence and cleanliness. A population of infamy. A DX is not for ordinary criminals. It is the last stop for those too dangerous, too violent, or too infamous for other prisons. Here are some of its residents. Ramzi Youssef, mastermind of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Zacharias Musui, the so-called 20th hijacker of 9/11. Richard Reed, the failed shoe bomber. Robert Hansen, an FBI agent who spied for Russia for decades. Theodore Kaczynski, the Unabomber, until his death in 2023. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the Mexican drug lord who once tunneled his way out of a Mexican prison. These men and hundreds like them are stripped of their power the moment they arrive. Gang leaders cannot send messages. Terrorists cannot inspire followers. Escape artists cannot outsmart the walls. At ADX, every man is just another number in a tomb of concrete. The daily life of silence. Imagine waking every day in silence. No voices, no touch, no freedom of movement. Meals are delivered through slots in the steel doors. Showers are taken alone, under watch. Even medical checkups happen through barriers. There are no conversations with fellow inmates. No visits from family, except through thick glass and telephones. The only sounds, the hum of fluorescent lights, the distant echoes of footsteps, and sometimes, the screams of men losing their minds. This is the life of ADX Florence. Existence without existence. A step down or a life sentence. Technically, ADX offers a step-down program. If inmates behave, they can gradually earn more privileges, eating meals with others, spending more time outside, or even being transferred to a less restrictive prison. But the path is long, uncertain, and rarely traveled. For most, ADX is a life sentence, not by court order, but by design. Escape is impossible. Unlike older prisons, ADX was built for one primary mission: no escapes. The walls curve so no one can see where they are. The desert around the prison offers no cover. Gun towers stand ready, attack dogs roam the perimeter, and 1,400 electronically controlled steel doors guard every step. Even the most legendary escape artist, El Chapo, could only smirk when asked about ADX. His tunneling days were over. ADX does not just hold prisoners, it buries them alive. Comparisons: ADX versus Cecot versus Black Dolphin. While ADX is often called the harshest prison in the world, two others frequently share that title: Cecot in El Salvador and Black Dolphin Prison in Russia. Cecot, El Salvador. A mega-prison built to crush the country's gangs. With space for 40,000 inmates, it is designed not for silence, but for spectacle. The government films prisoners, tattooed MS-13 and Barrio 18 members, marching shirtless, shackled, packed together in massive cells. Where ADX isolates, Cecot suffocates with overcrowding. It is less about psychological torture, more about breaking prisoners under sheer pressure and public humiliation. Black Dolphin Prison, Russia. Home to Russia's worst killers, serial murderers, terrorists, and cannibals. Inmates are marched bent at the waist, blindfolded, handcuffed behind their backs. They live in cages within cages, constantly watched, constantly moved. Where ADX uses silence, Black Dolphin uses relentless physical domination. ADX Florence, USA. By contrast, ADX is clinical, sterile, spotless. It is neither overcrowded like Cecot, nor physically brutal like Black Dolphin. Instead, it specializes in psychological destruction. No beatings, no chaos, just the endless silence of solitary confinement. 3 prisons, 3 methods of control, but all carrying the same message. There is no escape, the cleanest hell. What makes ADX stand out is its perfection. No rats, no sewage, no overcrowding. The floors shine, the toilets gleam, the concrete walls are spotless. But this is what makes it so cruel. You are not killed by filth or disease. You are killed by sterility, silence, and the crushing absence of human connection. Prisoners describe losing track of time, of days, even of who they once were. It is not chaos, it is the absence of life. That is why ADX is called the cleanest hell on earth. Legacy of fear. Today, ADX houses around 400 of America's most dangerous prisoners. Each one is a man society has decided can never walk free again. No one has ever escaped. Few will ever leave alive. To its supporters, ADX is justice, a necessary response to terrorism, espionage, and organized crime. To its critics, it is cruelty disguised as order. But one truth cannot be denied. ADX Florence is the place where America buries its enemies alive. Silence beyond the walls. At the end of the day, ADX Florence is more than a prison. It is a statement, a place that tells the world, some men are too dangerous to exist in society. A place that whispers, here in the silence of the Rockies, we will lock them away forever. And whether you compare it to Cecot's overcrowding or Black Dolphin's brutality, one fact remains clear. ADX Florence does not kill the body. It kills the soul. And perhaps that is a far more terrifying punishment.